The Prophet Muhammad began to preach Islam in Mecca, the largest city in Arabia. The inhabitants of Mecca were the guardians of the Kaaba, the mosque built by Ibrahim for the worship of God, which had degenerated to the point where it had turned into a temple of idolatry. The hundreds of idols adorning the Kaaba were the symbol of the perverted religion of the local people, as well as their source of income. They would make offerings to these idols, dance around them and chant, hoping to win their favor by these rituals. But in reality, they were just being hopelessly irrational, worshipping these carved pieces of stone and wood they had made themselves. God addressed them in the Quran. Mankind, an example has been made, so listen to it carefully. Those whom you call upon besides God are not even able to create a single fly, even if they were to join together to do it. And if a fly steals something from them, they cannot get it back. How feeble are both the seeker and the sought. Mecca's elite turned their backs on this truth and developed an anger and hostility to the Prophet who had brought them this truth. They conspired first to force him off his path, then to intimidate him, and finally even to murder him. Many Muslims believing in the Prophet became the victims of vicious nighttime raids on their homes, and most were martyred. Then, God showed the Muslim a way to safety. 13 years after the first revelation, at a time when the Muslims were subject to severe oppression, the leader of Yathrib, a town to the north of Mecca, invited the Muslims in. The Prophet obliged and migrated to this town. This town, later named Medina, was to become Islam's new capital. The Prophet signed an agreement with the Jews, Christians, and those Arabs who were not Muslims, establishing a just order by which all the different religious communities would live in peace with one another. In the following 5 years, 3 wars were fought between the Muslims of Medina and the idol worshippers of Mecca. The pagans of Mecca attacked, intending to kill every single Muslim, hoping thus to erase Islam from the face of the earth. The Muslims, on the other hand, fought to save themselves and their religion, trusting only in God and seeking His pleasure. In all these wars, the Muslims took care not to inflict suffering on the innocent. They never wronged anyone, because God forbids this. Fight in the way of God against those who fight you, but do not go beyond the limits. God does not love those who go beyond the limits. According to Arab tradition, every prisoner of war had to be killed, But the Prophet, following God's commandment and the revelations, ordered the Muslims to treat them well and to give them to eat from their own food. The only thing that was asked of them was for the literate prisoners to teach the illiterate among the Muslims. Probably for the first time in thousands of years, compassion, forgiveness, and civilization were seen on Arab soil. As the years passed, Islam's justice and high moral standards spread in waves around Arabia. The Muslims' fairness, integrity, and determination impressed many Arab tribes and caused them to enter the Islamic faith. Islam's army became unstoppable and marched on Mecca in 630. The pagans of Mecca, because of all the cruelty they had inflicted on the Muslims, feared their retribution. They fled in terror at the sight of the Islamic army. Arab tradition required the men of the defeated army to be put to the sword and for the women and children to be enslaved. The pagans of Mecca were certain that this was to be their fate. But the Prophet's actions reflected God's infinite mercy. He proclaimed that no revenge would be taken and that no one would be forced into accepting the Islamic faith. This great act of forgiveness and tolerance impressed Western historians.
When Muhammad came into Mecca and not only did not carry out a bloody revenge, but actually embraced the very Meccans who had fought him for 3 years and attempted to annihilate him, it was very shocking to the people in his milieu. So within the very founding of a religion, one finds episodes of great generosity, often extraordinary acts of kindness and mercy.
The Prophet had not come to punish the people of Mecca, but to free them from their false beliefs. The Muslim army, having taken the city, headed straight for the Kaaba. The Prophet entered the holy site and destroyed all the idols there one by one. With them, all the cruelty, injustice, barbarism, and violence committed in their name were destroyed too. With the spread of the values of the Quran in Arabia, all the injustices, oppression, and blood feuds from the times of ignorance disappeared. An order based on respect, love, compassion, and justice between people was established. This is why this era was later to be named the Blessed Period.